Hello and welcome to FinextraTV. I'm Alex Lippic, and kindly joining me in the virtual studio today is Mike Sleightholme of Broadridge International. Mike, it's great to see you.
Nice to see you, and thanks for having me.
Now, this need for improved resilience is impacting firms not just in Europe, but on a global scale. What do you think is driving this need and who's affected?
I think the two sort of key drivers are, on the one hand, there's been increasingly sophisticated and widespread cyber threats and well-publicized attacks, including ransomware attacks around the world. And that's certainly put a lot of our clients, particularly our larger, more sophisticated financial services clients, on alert anyway. Additionally, regulators around the world are naturally very focused on the area. And we're seeing a prevalence of regulations starting to emerge. So DORA, the Digital Operational Resilience Act in Europe, is the European Union's version of that, but we see similar regulations emerging around the world. But I think it's certainly a reflection of the sophistication of the bad guys out there. And additionally, things like T+1 in the US market, shortening settlement cycles, and in general, the trend towards shorter settlement cycles around the world, mean that resilience in general, not just cyber, and the ability to recover from a disaster more quickly have become more and more into focus as well.
Really interesting insight. You mentioned that DORA is the most challenging regulation for resilience specifically. Why is that? What do you think sets it apart?
So on the one hand, DORA is very wide-reaching. It affects any financial services organization doing business in the EU. So it captures organizations right across the value chain, regardless of size. Secondly, it's wide-ranging in terms of the scope of areas that it captures. So from third-party risk management, which is really key, identifying critical service providers, as well as internal managed hardware and software. And it prescribes procedures and policies around penetration testing, around disaster recovery, monitoring and reporting, wide-ranging within those organizations, requiring them to have robust and documented processes and procedures, and to be able to set tolerance limits and prove and demonstrate that they can measure their performance against those tolerance limits. So it really is quite far-reaching in terms of who it captures and the extent to which it goes into the infrastructure within those entities.
So, Mike, what should financial organizations be doing right now to prepare for DORA? Is there an action plan perhaps that they could be working towards of some sort?
So it really starts with self-reflection, if you like, and an internal health check. And many of our clients that we speak to are spending increasing amounts of time on this internally, as well as working with entities like Broadridge to help them with that risk assessment and comparison with the regulation. We have a global footprint, so we see how this is manifesting itself around the world, both in response to regulation as well as clients themselves taking the initiative. So, we feel that we're well placed to help them. But certainly those who are not already, given that the deadline for compliance is coming around very quickly, January the 17th, 2025, need to be getting focused on this and assessing their current compliance with the regulation. And if they're not compliant, where there are gaps maybe in policies that are not fully documented, or where there are actual this recovery time objective challenges or penetration testing challenges, that they take steps to mediate those. So certainly that preparation needs to be happening in earnest today if it's not already.
It's really fascinating. What about the support network? What support specifically is out there for financial institutions needing to reinforce their operational resilience, do you think?
So there are a lot of organizations out there that are focused on this, including Broadridge. We are approaching it in two ways. One is through our professional services and consulting arm, helping customers understand the regulation, understand compliance. And then we and others are focused on actual solutions that can help with the infrastructure to provide more of that resiliency. Some specific things that we see around the world, some of which being client driven, some of which is being driven by ourselves and others, would include things like full redundancy. So we have some very large, sophisticated organizations looking at ways in which they can have complete independent redundancy for core trading and settlement platforms, for example. A very important theme is immutability and repave. So the concept that if something really bad and far-ranging happened, you have the ability to wind back to a point in time. So using things like cyber vaulting to create secure environments and copies of everything at a point in time that's separated from the outside world by an air gap. So it's resilient to and immune from these kind of attacks. Having those things in place and then being able to recover to those points in time is really key. And we and others are there to help clients to create that. And I think a really important feature is that the cost of compliance and the cost of maintaining resiliency to the level that's now required is prohibitive for many organizations. So being able to mutualize that in a shared kind of cloud environment is a very important feature that many financial organizations are increasingly focused on. So I think there's a lot out there that can help. We're there to help. There's a lot of complexity in this. It's not going away. The bar is only going to get higher as the bad guys get more sophisticated and the regulators increasingly get prescriptive around what they expect from financial institutions to be able to comply.
It is really interesting listening to what you're saying, that insight there. There clearly are a lot of complexities, and it'll be fascinating to see how things develop moving forwards. But in the meantime, Mike, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, and thank you for joining us in our virtual studio today.
My pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.